Another great way to use up your scraps is to do an overlay with clear cellophane, and that's what this package is. So I'm going to show you a quick way to do this. Take a sheet of the metallic tissue, and here this is just a scrap, so it works great. It's not a whole piece. Don't worry about the ends. And take your scraps. Now I've had these, and see, the scraps get smaller and smaller because you're not throwing anything away, so you just keep even the smallest little ones. And throw a little bit of this in there too. Spread it around. Use your own creativity. You can come up, you can put old greeting cards on this overlay. You can use sports cards. Don't be afraid to play with this. Now this is cellophane, and all I'm going to do is lay it straight down on top of this. And I'm going to use a glue stick, just the inexpensive glue stick. And I'm going to go back and just on some of the corners. See, it likes to stick already, so you don't really have to do too much work here. But just on the corners, just to hold it together. You can also use little scraps of ribbon, anything you like, and it works great. Just trim off the cellophane. But you don't want to throw the cellophane away either. You keep that too, because you can use that when you're making a gift basket and you need to have something inside to line it. Clear cellophane works great. So you don't want to throw anything away. All this you're going to keep. Okay, and now you've just made a piece of personalized wrapping paper. And then you can go ahead and wrap your package however you want. You could do a soft wrap with the diaper wrap. You could do the bottle wrap, or you could wrap a conventional box like this one. Just another great way to use up your scraps. Okay. The next bow we're going to do is a poinsettia. This has been very popular at my home parties. Again, you want to work on a box or something that's hard, so it's easier to work. I'll be using the poly satin ribbon again to tie. Now I'm going to use my tissue, metallic tissue, and I'm going to cut strips about 3 to 4 inches wide. And again, don't worry if they aren't perfect. And I'm just going to gather them in the center and tie it down. This is going to be the base for your poinsettia. Now for the poinsettia flower, I've cut pieces. I've cut 5 pieces, the length of the tissue. And now I'm going to cut them all in half. So they'll be about 9 inches long. All right. And then I'm just going to fold them in half. Now, you can take your time and make this perfect, but you don't have to. You can just sort of get them somewhat centered, fold it in half, and then fold it the long way in half. And you're going to cut a point. Now you'll take them in the center and you're going to gather them up. Side by side. Just pinch it. Now if this becomes too difficult for you to handle, take what you can and tie it down like this. And then spread out the poinsettia. And then take some of your scraps. I'm using gold here, but you can use any color you like. And just gather them up and tie them in. And then pull them to the center, like we did for the cabbage rose bow, and cut this across. You can trim the green to look like leaves. Don't worry if it's not perfect. It's not supposed to be. It's just supposed to be fun. A fun bow. There, when you're done, you can just clip off your lead ribbons, and you have a poinsettia. The next bow that I want to show you is a traditional bow. I have lots of people asking me how to wrap just a regular bow, so I'm going to show you that today. This bow is a little bit different because it's using a wider ribbon, and it's very shiny. I like to use the metallic shiny ribbon. Whenever you're making a bow, I suggest wrapping on a box. Don't try to wrap it up in the air like this because it's really hard to get a good knot. So you want a weighted box. Especially if you're wrapping a lot of packages and you want to make 20 or 30 bows before you actually finish the boxes. This box will do nicely as a weight. Now again, I'm going to be using the egg ribbon because it's nice and strong. You don't use wire, you don't need staples or glue. And I'm going to tie it around the box and knot it. And what the box does for you is it acts like a third hand. So you'll see when I'm making this bow, the box comes in handy. Now first of all, I'm going to put down the base for my bow. And I want to measure it to the box. So if I want a small bow, I'll measure it across this way. When I want a large bow, I measure it across the diagonal, and that'll give me a bow in proportion to my box. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Now to find the center of my ribbon, I'm just going to fold it in half. So I found the center. Now I want to fishtail this ribbon, so I can do it by putting them together, folding it over, and cutting it at a diagonal. And you've fishtailed your ribbon. Fold it over, cut it on the diagonal, and you've fishtailed it. Now where I folded it in half, I'm just going to gather it up and pinch it and gather my second piece right there next to it. And now I'm going to tie it with my lead ribbon. This is where the box comes in handy because it acts like another finger for you there. So you can hold this down and just tie it on. Now there's a couple of ways you can make a traditional bow. One is to start in the center and work out. The other is to start from the outside and work in. This one I'm going to start from the center. And how I do this is I take about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of ribbon. The wider the ribbon, the more you'll need for this tail. And I'm going to gather it up and I'm going to loop it around my thumb and bring it all the way over my thumb to the back. And after I have it there, I'm going to hold it with my index finger, I'm going to twist it around. Now I'm using this shiny material so you'll be able to see that the shiny side should always be up. All right, so you take this, then you loop it back, you hold on to it, and you twist it. And you loop it, and you twist it. And you loop it, and you twist it. And you loop it, and you twist it. And you want to make sure that you have the same number of loops on one side as you have on the other. So I have 2 here and 2 here. I'm going to do 3. Now, if this isn't easy for you, if you're not used to holding this amount in your hand, just do 2 loops, tie them on, and make another bow and tie it on. I'm going to take that and twist it. And twist it. And then cut off the extra. Now you can hold it between your index finger and your thumb is inside the middle. You put it down on your package and let go of with your hand so just your thumb is in there. Now this is the tricky part. You want to bring the ribbon up over your index finger on this side. Bring this one through the loop to the other side. And then bring it around and then tie it. Meanwhile, you keep your thumb on that bow so it doesn't come apart. That seems to be the hardest thing for everyone to do, and that's where they get frustrated. But that tail, that first inch of ribbon, is going to help that stay there. So now I've taken my hand out, and it's still able to hold. I'm going to tie it tight. You can take the lead ribbons and you can curl them and just let them stay in there in the bow, or you can cut them off. That's up to you. And you have a hand-tied bow. Now you can just snip this ribbon off and you're ready to tie that onto your package. Another way to make a bow is to take your lead ribbon again, put it around the box, double knot it, this bow I'm going to start from the outside of the bow and work in to the middle. Again, you want to decide how big a bow you want, but to keep it in proportion with your box, you either measure across this way or you'll measure diagonally across this way. I want a large bow, so I'm going to measure it diagonally across. So you give yourself a tail of about an inch, and you make your first loop, because this will decide on the size you want. So you want to make sure that first loop is about right. And then you squeeze it, pinch it between your fingers, and you twist it. You always twist the ribbon. That's what gives it body. And you bring it back, and I want to measure, make sure that the bow's in the right place, and you twist. You measure, and you twist. You measure, and you twist. Now, it's starting to become a handful, so I'm just going to take it and tie it on. That's the advantage of this technique. Now I'll take some different color. The same thing, you want to measure it. Use about an inch for the tail. Measure it from the corner. Pinch it and twist it. and measure it, pinch it, and twist it. Cut it off and tie that on. Now you probably want to crisscross this a little. Your bow will be going in this direction. Your new bow will go across it. You want to tie it nice and tight. Now I'm going to put another layer. I like to do 3. I think it gives it more body. And then tie that on. Okay, and you've got your bow. And you just go back and straighten it up. And you're done. This is why I like to do 3 layers, because I think it makes a wonderful, nice, big, fluffy bow. You can just take and cut your lead ribbons off, or you can curl them, leave them in there. That's up to you. And you have your bow.